It was an unusually stressful day. There was a lot of work, we didn't have time to finish the project on time, and from that our relationship with our boss escalated to the limit. Returning from work late at night, a friend called me asking me to accompany him. Although his voice was a little strained, I didn't think much of it. Today he celebrated his 30th birthday, and since I was his only friend, I couldn't refuse. We met at a bar where we often liked to sit over a glass of beer, discussing ordinary men's affairs. When I arrived, he was already finishing his glass, and his mood wasn't exactly festive. After congratulating him on his anniversary and wishing him the best, I ordered another beer and sat down opposite my friend. He looked worried. I don't remember seeing him like this before, but anything happens in life. I understood that. I have problems at work myself, but today is a holiday. How can you be sad on such a day? When I asked what happened, I got an unexpected answer. Today is my last birthday. To be honest, I expected any answer, but I wasn't ready for this. I was perplexed and asked him to explain what the real problem was, why such terrible thoughts were in his head. To which I received an answer that was more unexpected than the previous one. Death came to me. I practically gulped down my glass and ordered another one. My friend was sitting in indescribable sadness. His words seemed crazy to me, but he wasn't crazy. I've known him since high school. He was always different from others in that he spoke as he was, and never made up anything like the others did in order to attract attention to himself. After drinking quite a bit from his glass, staring at some point on the table, my friend began to talk further. Last night, I woke up from a strange alarm. It was 3 o'clock in the morning. Still half asleep, I rubbed my eyes and stared at the wall opposite, which was faintly illuminated by the moonlight. There was a strange shadow in it. I was scared. My strength seemed to have left me, and I couldn't even move. Staring at her, I stopped feeling time. It seemed to have stopped. A moment later, something appeared from the wall. I couldn't believe my eyes. At first it was a black silhouette. After some time, it began to approach slowly. It looked like an old woman in a black cloak, but I couldn't see her face. It was hidden in the shadow of her hood. I can't describe the horror I felt. I wanted to scream. My eyes felt like they were going to burst from the strain, and my heart was going to burst out of my chest. Suddenly he stopped. He raised his glass, his hands shaking so much that if there had been even a little more beer, it would certainly have spilled on the table. Slowly, holding it with his other hand, he emptied it and casually returned it to the table. What I heard put me in a kind of stupor. I didn't know what to do. Another person in my place would probably have twirled his finger at his temple, but I'm not another person. I've known him too long to doubt his words. Staring at a new point on the table, without waiting for my reaction, my friend continued his story. That thing grabbed my arm. I felt a strong burning sensation and unbearable pain, as if a red-hot metal hand was squeezing my hand. In a cold, sepulchral voice, this phrase came out from under the gloomy hood. "I'll be back today, and this time you're coming with me." After that, I immediately lost consciousness. Looking into my eyes, as if he saw a note of disbelief in me, he rolled up his sleeve with shaking hands. And then I felt uneasy. There was indeed a finger-shaped burn on his hand. I involuntarily glanced at the window. It was 11 o'clock in the evening. There was nothing to see outside the window, only darkness and our reflections on its background. My friend also turned his head, and at some point everything flew. The chair he was sitting on, the table, the glasses, he fell. There was a look of horror on his face, and his words sounded like a gunshot. "That's it. It's here. It's behind my back." I looked back at the window, but I didn't notice anything unusual, just myself, an overturned table and chair, and my friend lying on the ground. At the same moment, while I was in wild perplexity and in shock from what was happening, my friend broke off and ran outside. I immediately rushed after him, but he seemed to disappear into the darkness. I was brought to my senses by the barmaid, who was furious at what had happened. I took the money out of my pocket and gave her more than enough for the inconvenience. After that, I took out my phone and immediately started calling my friend. The subscriber was unavailable. I called him continuously until I got to my house. I sat down on the couch, either from fatigue or stress, and fell asleep. I woke up at 10 o'clock. Fortunately, it was a day off, because having fallen asleep so early, I did not set the alarm, and I would certainly have overslept work. Remembering what happened last night as a terrible dream, I decided to call a friend again. The subscriber was still unavailable. A few minutes later, my friend, who worked as a medical examiner at the city morgue, called me and urgently asked me to come. Half an hour later, I was there. I wasn't ready for what he was going to show me. After opening the refrigerator, my friend was lying on the shelf. His face was frozen in horror, blue, his eyes were white and wide open. His mouth was also unnaturally open, and therefore it felt as if his jaw had broken from screaming. I was surprised by his brush. There was no trace on it that he had shown me the day before. I threw up from what I saw, and I ran to the bathroom. While washing my face, I felt a strange burning sensation on my hand. Rolling up my sleeves, I was horrified. On my hand, there was exactly the same mark as my friend's.